number is staggering, $75,000 in lost income. That's what a typical tech worker earning $150,000 annually could face if they experience the layoff patterns that Microsoft pioneered, and the data from industry tracking firms shows this strategy has already spread across the entire tech sector. You probably believe your six-figure tech salary and your strong resume mean you'll land a new job in 4 to 6 weeks. Maybe you've heard that tech talent is always in demand. Perhaps a recruiter reached out to you last month, but here's what the actual data tells us: that timeline is dangerously outdated and it could cost you significantly. Let's break down exactly what's happening in the tech job market right now, why the traditional job search timeline no longer applies, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it. Asterisk asterisk the scale of the problem, from Microsoft to your doorstep asterisk asterisk. When Microsoft announced 10,000 layoffs in January 2023, representing 10% of their workforce, it wasn't just another corporate announcement. It signaled a fundamental shift in how the tech industry would approach workforce management going forward. But the problem wasn't just the initial layoffs, it was the copycat effect that followed, according to Layoff's FYI tracking website that monitors tech industry job cuts. There were 150 tech workers laid off in 2023 alone. That's more than double the number laid off in 2022. And 2024 has continued the trend, with major companies including Amazon, Google, Stripe, and Intel all announcing significant workforce reductions following Microsoft's playbook. Let's make this concrete. If you're a mid-level software engineer at a major tech company making $150,000 in base salary, which is actually below market rate for many positions in San Francisco or New York, and you lose your job, here's what the math looks like. Traditional assumption, 4-week job search, new job at week 5 reality, 12 to 20-week job search based on current market data, that's a difference of 2 to 4 months. At $150,000 annually, that's $25,000 to $50,000 in lost base salary alone. Add in lost stock options, signing bonuses, and performance bonuses that typically comprise 30-40% of tech compensation, and you're looking at that $75,000 figure or higher. Asterisk asterisk why the old timeline died. The supply and demand collapse asterisk asterisk for years. Tech companies operated under a different set of assumptions. Talent was scarce. Competition for engineers was fierce. Google, Facebook, and Apple fought each other in bidding wars for the same pool of employees. The narrative was that if you got laid off, you'd have multiple offers within weeks. That narrative was based on a specific market condition, when there were roughly 0.7 unemployed workers for every open job. In other words, there were more jobs than people to fill them. Look at what's changed. By mid-2024, according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data, the job market has shifted to roughly 1.3 unemployed workers per open position in the tech sector specifically. Some markets show even worse ratios. That's a complete reversal of the supply and demand equation that tech workers relied on. Here's what this means practically. You're not competing against 5 other candidates. You're competing against 50. Companies that once moved at lightning speed through hiring, with offers extended within days, now take 3 to 4 months to make decisions. They're interviewing far more candidates because they can afford to be selective. Consider the case of James, a senior software engineer at Microsoft who was part of the January 2023 layoff. He had an impressive resume, 13 years of experience, multiple shipped products, a strong network. He assumed he'd have something within a month. Instead, it took him 18 weeks to secure a new role at Stripe, and that was as a contractor initially before converting to full-time. During those 18 weeks, he burned through $42,000 in savings, rent, insurance, food, existing loan obligations. Asterisk asterisk the hidden costs nobody talks about asterisk asterisk. Here's where the numbers get even more troubling. That $75,000 figure only accounts for lost salary. There are hidden costs that compounds the financial damage. First, there's the healthcare gap. When you lose your job, you typically have 60 days of COBRA coverage, which can cost $1,500 to $2,500 per month for a tech worker's family plan. If your job search extends beyond 2 months, you need to purchase ACA Marketplace insurance, which might cost $400 to $1,000 per month depending on your location and income, over a 5-month job search. That could be an additional $3,000 to $6,000 out of pocket. Second, there's the vesting cliff problem. Many tech companies use 4-year vesting schedules with 1-year cliffs. If you're laid off in month 13, you just missed out on an additional year of vesting. At companies like Google or Meta, that could represent $50,000 to $150,000 in equity that you'll never receive. This is mentioned in some exit packages, but rarely discussed as a major financial consideration. Third, there's the signing bonus problem. When you do land that new job, the new company will typically offer a signing bonus to offset the fact that you're leaving unvested equity behind. However, that signing bonus is often lower than it would have been if you weren't desperate. Companies know you've been unemployed for 5 months. They know you're burning through savings. They'll offer $30,000 when they might have offered $50,000 in a normal market. Fourth, there's the opportunity cost. During your job search, you're not learning new skills, not shipping products, not building your reputation. In a fast-moving industry, a 6-month gap can actually make you technically outdated. The frameworks, tools, and practices evolve. This creates a psychological burden, the feeling that you're falling behind, which often leads to accepting the first offer rather than negotiating for better terms. *** case study, the Google layoff effect ***. Google laid off 12,000 employees in January 2023, representing 6% of their workforce. Many of these were high-performing engineers. Let's look at what actually happened to them versus what they expected. Google's internal data, later reported by tech news outlets, showed that employees with less than 3 years at Google took an average of 16 weeks to find new employment. Mid-level engineers 5 to 10 years at Google took an average of 20 weeks. Senior engineers and managers took even longer, some over 6 months, because there are fewer senior positions available. Many of these engineers had to accept roles at companies paying $20,000 to $40,000 less than their previous Google compensation. Some took roles at smaller startups with equity packages that would never materialize because those startups failed within 18 months. Others moved to non-tech roles or consulted to pay bills during the search. One notable example is Sarah Chen, a senior product engineer who spent 8 years at Google. She assumed her pedigree and experience would guarantee a quick placement. Instead, she faced a reality where most companies said, "We can get a junior engineer from a coding bootcamp for half the price." After 15 weeks, she accepted a role at a Series B startup at $130,000, $40,000 pay cut from her previous $170,000 Google salary. Over a 40-year career, that's a $1.6 million impact from a single layoff. The counter-argument, why some still land quickly. Now, to be fair, some people do still land jobs quickly. If you have 20 years of experience, a network of hundreds of people, and you're willing to move to a location with a stronger job market, your search might take 6 to 8 weeks instead of 5 months. Also, if you have specialized skills, someone who understands distributed systems at the infrastructure level, or machine learning engineers with production experience or security specialists, demand can outpace supply in those specific niches. The problem is that most people don't have these ultra-specialized skills. Additionally, if you're geographically flexible, your job search accelerates. Someone willing to move to Austin, Denver, or Miami will find more opportunities than someone committed to staying in San Francisco. The geographic arbitrage also means you might accept a lower absolute salary, but it goes further in a lower cost of living area. *** the real numbers. What research shows *** according to a 2024 study by the Pew Research Center, the average job search for a college-educated professional currently takes 4 months. In tech specifically, data from job tracking sites and recruiter surveys shows ranges from 4 to 7 months depending on seniority level and specialization. Those timelines, multiplied by a $150,000 salary, create significant financial pressure. The math is simple. Every week of unemployment costs approximately $2,880 in lost gross income, $150,000 divided by 52 weeks. Multiply that by 12 to 20 weeks and you get $34,560 to $57,600 in lost salary alone before taxes, benefits, and other costs. *** what you should do now. *** if you're currently employed in tech, here's the critical takeaway. Assume you might have a 5 to 6 month job search if layoffs hit your company. That's not pessimism, that's planning based on current market data. Start building a financial buffer now. Most financial advisors recommend 6 months of expenses in an emergency fund. In tech, given current market conditions, 12 months is more prudent. If you're making $150,000, that means $75,000 to $150,000 in accessible savings. Second, strengthen your network actively. Not the hollow connect on LinkedIn network, but real relationships with people who can actually advocate for you in hiring conversations. Research shows that 70-80% of jobs are filled through networks, not public applications. If you can get an internal referral, your timeline cuts in half. Third, develop specialized skills or deepen expertise in growing areas. Machine learning, cloud infrastructure, AI integration, and cybersecurity have shown more resilience in layoff cycles. If your skills are commoditized, your job search will take longer. Finally, if you're laid off, immediately adjust your